Hello, this is Esther Nagel here of Balance and Breathe, and I'm here today to do a free workshop on stress and how stress can impact our health and how it can affect not just your physical health, but your mental health, your emotional health, and also other aspects of your life as well, such as your productivity and your relationships. And then we're going to be looking at how yoga can help to counter the effects of stress in your life. And I'm not going to just be looking at what you see of yoga on the front pages of the magazines, the postures. There is much more to yoga than that we're going to be looking at. So it's going to be there's going to be a lot of information, not as much as I could say and talk about, because this is such a fascinating topic. I get more excited every time I read anything about stress and the brain and the impact it has on the body and the effects that yoga can have to help with all the problems that stress causes. Because stress is, it's a really big problem in our society. In 2015, 2016, 45% of the working days that were lost to stress, so the sickness the sickness that people took from work that were attributed to stress, it was 45% of sicknesses. Now, I suspect that figure is actually far higher, because there would be a lot of conditions that people would have had that they would have taken time off work for, but they would have said, I can't come into work today. I've got a migraine. I've got stomach problems. I've got chronic backache. I've got all these other conditions that actually, if you could get down and really drill down into the source of those problems, stress would possibly be at the root of many of those problems. So I think that the figure for stress probably goes beyond what is reported, because there's so many conditions that are triggered or exacerbated or caused by stress. But 11.7 million working days were lost in the UK 2015 to 2016. That's huge. That's such a lot. That's such a lot of unhappy people that are going to work and feeling so stressed and so overwhelmed in their jobs that they just can't face going in the next day. And I think that's really worrying. Now, I have a particular backstory with that, as my son just climbing under the table for some reason. So I have a particular reason to feel quite passionate about this, because I was one of those people. When I gave up my job in 2013, I was almost certainly, I was having some kind of breakdown. And I'd been in a state of high stress for quite a long time, for years and years probably. And the stress that I was under, oh, hello, Loretta from Italy, ciao. We've got somebody from Italy, look, say ciao, Loretta. Thank you for following, it's nice to meet you. So back in 2013, I was under a tremendous amount of stress in my personal life. There were lots of things going on in my family that were causing me a lot of stress, and I also had my coping strategies weren't particularly healthy. I was my only way of dealing with stress was drinking and smoking and shouting and swearing. Those were about it, really, and crying, probably lots of crying. So I didn't have particularly good coping strategies. So when my stress level got so high that I couldn't really function anymore, I had no option but to give up my job. And it was what I needed. It was the best thing that I could have possibly done. But it was very unpleasant. It was very scary, and it was really painful. I went from my income dropped massively. I felt like a complete failure for a little while, and I was in a lot of emotional pain. And I was physically, I wasn't good either. I was exhausted. I was not sleeping well. And I had lots of symptoms of stress. I remember several times getting tension right the way up my left arm and being quite worried that maybe I was having a heart attack. So, all these symptoms of stress are very, very, very scary. And so throughout my studies, I trained to be a yoga teacher after that, and it changed my life completely. And I learned a lot of coping strategies that I had never had before. I unraveled a lot of the stress that I was carrying around with me. I transformed my life. And if you don't know me, you don't know my backstory, but I beat addiction through that yoga teacher training. After 20 years of using alcohol as my comfort blanket, my protector, my mask, everything that I needed it to be, alcohol was there for me. And through my yoga teacher training at the Om Studio in Cardiff, I was able to stop drinking. And I haven't drunk since. I've been sober now for over 2.5 years, and this is my new normal, and I don't anticipate going back to drinking. So I have had a long history with stress, because that addiction was stress related and created stress. So there's been stress has just been dragged around behind me for my entire adult life, really. So when I was doing my yoga teacher training, I became very interested in stress and what was happening to me as a result of my yoga teacher training, and what had happened to me as a result of the stress that I'd been under for so many years. And it's a fascinating subject, and it takes you down all kinds of science routes that I never anticipated, getting into neurobiology and things like that. But it's really interesting. And when you start to look into stress, you realize that there's an awful lot to it. Dr. Hans Seeley, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but in the 1950s, he was the first major researcher who looked at stress, and he came up with 2 different terms to talk about stress. There's the good stress, which is that excitement, that, the adrenaline stuff, the stress that gets you fired up about something, that gives you that, if you've got your essay to be handed in university tomorrow and you haven't started it yet. So that's the stress that's going to keep you awake all night and help you to produce something that's actually passable. He termed that as eustress, which is good stress. It's productive stress. It's helpful stress. It's motivating. It's energizing, and it increases and improves your performance in whatever task you have to do. So the task that is causing you that stress, you will become laser focused on it. You will be at your best. And once it's over, your body will return to normal. And that stress is within your coping abilities, within the range of what you can cope with. The other type of stress is the type of stress that we tend to refer to as stress, which is called distress. And that is the stress that causes great anxiety. It doesn't feel good. It can be either short-term or long-term stress, but it feels unpleasant. It normally takes us outside of the realm of what we can cope with. And instead of increasing performance, it actually decreases our performance. So, if your stress is work-based, and if, for example, your stress is because you're worried that you might lose your job, and then you become very stressed and anxious about it, well, that kind of stress is going to decrease your performance and is going to actually increase the chances of the thing you're worried about happening, because it decreases your ability to cope, and it decreases your ability to think and perform at your job. So there are the 2 types of stress, and the stress that causes illness is obviously the distress. It's the bad stress. Eustress is more like excitement. And there's a quote, and I think it might actually be from Hans Seeley, that says, fear is excitement without the breath. And this is going to become very relevant, because when you get excited about something, you have the same physiological response going on in your body as when you get scared. You get the sweaty palms, you get the jittery tummy, you get the dry mouth, you get the increased heart rate, the increased blood pressure. It's exactly the same response. It's just different intentions, different motivations, different thoughts are going on behind it, and we're doing different things with the parts of our body that we're in control of. So we're breathing differently, and that affects how we feel about this stress. So Dr. Seeley termed the stress response, the general, and talked about the general adaptation syndrome. So in the moment of distress, we have the alarm reaction. That's the immediate hormonal flight or fight response from the nervous system. We become then highly energized. We're on high alert. That is meant to be short-lived. That is the kind of, the saber-toothed tiger is there, run kind of stress response. And that's meant to be short-lived. But often what happens, and particularly in now, we don't have most people, in the Western world, most people don't have immediate threats to their life on a daily basis. We're quite safe most of the time, but we're still in this very highly stressed life, and we don't have a chance for that stress level to drop, for that stress to pass. So when we go through the alarm reaction, that high impact alarm reaction, we then move into adaptation. So your body's getting used to that stress. Now, that's not really very good, because if your body is used to functioning in that high stress level, it's taking up a lot of energy. It uses up a lot of your physical, mental, and emotional resources. It doesn't require as much as the alarm reaction, but it still requires a lot of your resources. And when that passes, if the stress hasn't passed yet, if the problem isn't solved, that then turns into exhaustion. And that is when your resources are depleted to such a point that you get ill. That is when you're likely to get ill, when you're likely to, your mental state is likely to collapse, and you're going to start to have serious problems. Now, prolonged stress can lead to all kinds of health problems, things like ulcers, high blood pressure, arthritis, kidney diseases. Everything in the body becomes affected by stress. Stress is actually a contributory factor, according to the World Health Organization. It's a contributory factor in the 6 biggest killer diseases in the Western world. And I think that is quite a scary statistic, because generally stress is man-made. It's not, it's not an environmental, natural occurring thing. It's something that our society is creating, and it doesn't need to happen. We don't need to have this problem. So in terms of health problems that are caused by stress, basically every part of the body, of the systems, our internal systems, our skin, hair, nails, teeth, everything gets affected when you're in that prolonged high stress state. So, your digestive system gets affected, your heart gets affected, your blood pressure, respiratory system, it increases asthma. Asthma is a stress-related condition. I've had asthma since I was a child, and since I'm not stressed anymore, I don't have so much asthma. There's a definite connection there. Increased risk of stroke from high stress, increased risk of heart disease. It's been linked to cancers. It damages us in so many ways if we're living in that state of high stress. So I'm going to give you solutions after this. I'm not just going to list all the things that can go wrong with stress, but I think it's important to understand that it's actually, it's important that we know that it's a real problem, and that you do need to take steps to avoid it and reduce the stress in your life. So it affects your body in its entirety. It'll reduce the amount of sleep you can get as well, and that's a big problem, because one of the ways that we keep our stress levels down is through sleep, because when we sleep, the brain is able to process the day's events, it's able to process our experiences of the world, and we need about 5 full cycles of sleep every night to get that full benefit, so that we wake up refreshed in the morning. And if you're not getting that depth of sleep, if you're not getting that right amount of sleep cycles, if you're not getting to the end of a sleep cycle, it's affecting how your brain is processing stuff overnight, and it's going to affect your sleep pattern. And it's going to affect your stress levels. And then when we get stressed, we're more prone to when we can't sleep, we're more prone to stress. And I'm sure that you'll all know, when you're tired, somebody's only going to look at you wrong and you're snapping at them. When I'm tired, this little boy sitting next to me had better just go to bed when he's told, or he gets the ratty side of mum, don't you? Yes. So, so, when we're tired, we can't deal with stress. And when we can't sleep, when we're stressed, it affects sleep. It's hard to unwind and to sleep when you're stressed. So even sleep is affected by stress. Mental and emotional health is also hugely impacted by stress. Stress can contribute to depression, and somebody that has depression will probably find that stress will exacerbate that depression. It will worsen the condition of somebody with bipolar disorder. It has a big impact on any pre-existing mental health disorders, and there are a whole range of disorders, of anxiety-based disorders as well. So people live in this all the time, and if you're in that state of high anxiety all the time, then you're living in those these impacts all the time. Stress also affects the cognitive functions. So it affects things like decision making and problem solving and concentration and our ability to learn and take in new information. So, to come back to the work-based example that I mentioned earlier on, if you're stressed in work, it's going to impact on your performance. And then that leads to more stress. And so you're in a vicious cycle of stress causing more stress, causing more stress, causing more stress. It's so hard to get out of it once you're in there, because, you feel like everything's getting worse, but actually it's partly because you're anxious about things getting worse that things are getting worse. I recently discovered, which has been quite an eye-opener for me and made me evaluate my own mental faculties, shall we say, and my own emotional state, that procrastination is not laziness, like I'd always told myself it was, or not general uselessness, like I told myself it was. Procrastination is actually a stress response, and it is another one of these vicious cycle stress responses where, you worry about something, so you procrastinate, and then that makes you worry even more, and you procrastinate even more, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy almost, that, the more you procrastinate on doing your accounts, the longer it goes on and the harder it gets to do, and then the worse it's going to get, and then you start worrying about the tax office, and then there's more reasons to stress, and it just snowballs. These things just do kind of accumulate. So it can affect how your brain is functioning. Stress affects how your brain is functioning, and we talk about it. This is part of our daily language. When you're so stressed, you say, "I'm so stressed, I can't even think straight." We know that it's happening to us, but we don't stop and think about it very often, I don't think. Now, on a more interpersonal level, stress also affects our relationships, and it affects our relationship with ourselves, as well as your relationship with other people. Being stressed, being in this adaptation and exhaustion phase of the stress response can actually change who you are. It can change your personality. It can change how you interact with the world. It'll make you more irritable. It can make you more aggressive. It can lead to communication problems. it can lead to shame, and if you're feeling shameful about the way you're feeling about things, you're very unlikely to want to talk about it. It can lead to impulsive behavior, and it can lead to very harmful coping strategies, such as drinking, smoking, recklessness, sexual behavior, shopping, spending, money you don't have. There's a whole host of behaviors that are generally stress responses. They're a response to something not being right about how we feel about ourselves. And these personality changes can lead to problems in relationships. If you're, for example, if you're married and you are feeling very stressed, you might be spending money and then trying to hide that from your husband or your wife or something like that. And then that leads to a breakdown in communication, and it leads to frustration, and it leads to all kinds of problems then. So stress goes really deep, and it really embeds itself deeply in people's lives, in our lives. And it can, the consequences can be devastating. And there are ways that you can help yourself if you are feeling this stress. If you are in a stress, if you're in a state of stress at the moment, then there are lots of ways that can help you. Obviously, there are all kinds of different avenues that you can follow to go down and try and resolve your problems, to look at your behavior, to look at your mental health, to look at your physical health, to look at the situation. But obviously, I'm here to talk about yoga. So yoga is, most people, I think if you were to ask most people, about yoga and stress, most people would say, yeah, yoga helps you to relax. So I think most people know that yoga helps you to relax. So there is the very well-known aspect of yoga, that you've got the breathe, you've got the postures that help to release tension in your body, and you've got the relaxation, and maybe people will talk about breathing exercises as well if you talk about yoga. Now these, particularly the breathing, which I could wax lyrical about for hours, they are very important. If your body is tense, what goes on in the head, in the mind, comes out in the body if it's not resolved in the mind. So if you're very stressed, then it's going to start to impact your body. And we've already talked about the different physical problems that you can have as a result of stress. And so you know that there's a very strong connection between stress and the body. So if you can take the stress and the tension out of the body, then it's going to help. It's going to start to help to relieve the problems. It can help you to sleep better. If you go to a good yoga class and you get a nice relaxation at the end, it can really make a difference of how you feel. And it can help you get a good night's sleep. So then the next day, you might find that a big chunk of the worries have gone. If it was a very good yoga class, if you really got into it, it can take it away for a while. But if you need to look a little bit deeper into life and really dig into where the stress is coming from, and look at changing things on a much deeper level, yoga is also there for you to help you with that. So the asanas, the postures work. They don't just get you flexible. They work at a what's the word? They work at a systems level through the body. So, you get postures that can balance the digestive system. You get postures that will balance out the nervous system. You get postures that will expand the lungs and improve the functioning of the respiratory system. So it's not just working on the muscles and the joints and making you loose and flexible and releasing physical tension. It actually digs in deeper and balances your body out. So starts to redress the damage that stress has been doing to your internal systems. There's a concept in yoga, it's kind of the root of it all really is Adi Vyadi, which says that basically everything begins in the mind. And it is particularly true when it comes to stress. You know, if you're messed up here, you're going to be messed somewhere in the body as well. So Adi Vyadi talks about that mind-body connection, and yoga is brilliant for connecting mind and body, and you use your mind to relax your body, and then your body relaxes your mind, and it's this wonderful loop, like a circuit that goes on in your body, an energetic circuit and a relaxation circuit that goes through the body. So when we increase the connection to the body and the mind and the connection between the two, you can recognize what's going on in your body and in your mind a little bit easier. So whereas, for example, in my case, a few years ago, I'd be stressed and I wouldn't really question it. I'd just feel like, I'm going to have a drink tonight, and I wouldn't question that at all. I would be stressed, I'd be angry, I'd find a reason why I was angry if I couldn't remember why I was angry, and then I'd go and get drunk and try and forget about the fact that I was angry. Now, if I'm feeling angry and I don't quite know why, I'll try and work out why, because I realize now that there's something going on. So it helps me to step back a little bit and look for what's happening. And I can feel when my body doesn't feel right. I can feel more when my mind doesn't feel right. And so I have a greater awareness of what's going on in my mind and in my body. And I can recognize when I'm feeling stressed. Doesn't happen immediately. You know, I can get to a point where I can be quite stressed, but then I'll recognize what's happening. Whereas years earlier, I wouldn't have recognized that stress at all. You know, I still get stressed. I'm certainly not living the life of a yogi in the desert. I live with a 7-year-old. So, you know, there is still stress there, but it's recognizing those signs of that stress and having some strategies to call on to be able to do it, to deal with it. Now, my favorite strategy, my favorite tool that I am pretty sure was the biggest player in my recovery is breathing, learning to breathe, pranayama. When I started my teacher training, I was secretly smoking. My yoga teacher didn't know I was smoking until I stopped, because I didn't want to tell her. And I think that she would have possibly not let me stay on the course if I had. I was drinking a lot, and that is not good for your asthma. I was asthmatic. I've been asthmatic since I was 7. I was diagnosed with asthma when I was 7 anyway. I have a dust allergy, so my nose was always blocked up and I couldn't breathe through my nose. And I was a mess, really. And I'd gone to yoga years earlier because I wanted to learn to breathe, because I'd had an asthma attack and I thought, easier than giving up smoking, I'll start going to yoga. And when I was doing breathing exercises in these classes before, I hated the breathing. I hated it. It would make me really angry. I would just desperately want it to end. I couldn't do it. I couldn't breathe through my nose. Didn't like breathing through my mouth. And I really struggled to do it. But when I was doing my yoga teacher training, I was basically forced to learn to breathe. I had no option, because I wasn't going to be allowed to pass the course unless I could do these breathing exercises. And when I started to really do it, it didn't take very long of learning to breathe, learning to expand my lung capacity, to breathe with the full capacity of my lungs, to take deep, slow, conscious, deliberate breaths. It didn't take very long at all before I started to notice a difference in how I felt and how I was responding to events that were happening. So things that would have sent me off into a fury stopped stopped doing that to me. You know, I was able to withstand stressful situations far, far easier, and it didn't take very long. It was only within a matter of a couple of months, the first thing I noticed was that I was a much calmer driver. I didn't shout and swear and scream at every other driver on the road. I was a horrible driver. So I noticed that I was reacting differently to other drivers on the road. I noticed that I was reacting differently when his father was pushing my buttons, shall we say. And instead of like wanting to kill him, I was just breathing and taking my time about my response. And I also noticed that I was starting to be able to sleep better. I'd had years of insomnia, and that had been a part of the whole why I needed to get drunk so much, because I could just pass out if I was drunk. I didn't have to worry about trying to get to sleep. But I started to actually be able to go to sleep and to wake up in the morning feeling like I'd had a good night's sleep. And everything started to change. I had more energy. I felt happier. And I just didn't feel like I wanted to fight the world anymore. And that was such a game changer for me. That was such a transformation, because I'd spent years fighting the world, not really ever achieving anything, not really ever actually fighting anybody, just feeling like it was like one of those cartoon characters, you know, when the tall person has got the hands and they just like fighting at nothing, punching at the thin air. That's basically what I was doing for most of my life. And so to actually be able to breathe, to be able to feel calm, was completely revolutionary for me. There's been a lot of research done around breathing and its impact on stress. And Dr. Ananda, who's the son of Swami Gitananda, whose teachings are what I was trained in, he's done a lot of research, and he's been involved in a study that shows that there are lots of different types of pranayama. There are fast types and there are slow types, and all types of pranayama will reduce the perception of stress. And bearing in mind that there's a lot around how we perceive things. Things are not how they are, things are how we are. And so it's looking at people's perceptions of how stressed they felt. And the fast and slow pranayama reduce that perception of stress. But the slow pranayama, when you're taking slow, deep breaths, and you're filling your lungs completely, and you're really taking your time about it and being really conscious of each breath, that type of breathing actually reduced blood pressure, it reduced heart rate, and it reduced a whole host of other measurements that were taken around the heart performance and function that I didn't entirely understand. But it reduced the physiology of what was happening in the heart. So that has, you know, there's repercussions there that, you know, if you can reduce blood pressure and heart rate during stress episodes, then it's obviously it's a good thing to be doing. I found while I was researching for this talk, this workshop, I found, and I haven't had a chance to read it properly yet, but researchers in Stanford University have discovered some neurons in the brains. I'm reading it here. They've discovered neurons in the brain's respiratory control center that are connected to breathing, so that are connected to stress. So there are parts of the brain that are related to how we breathe, and that are also connected to how we feel, how stressed we feel. So I said I haven't had a chance to read that yet. I will. I'll just drop the link to that in the chat down here, because I got very excited and didn't have a chance to read it. But I've just put the link down there, so you can take a look at that if you want to read that, because it's really exciting. It's kind of proving what the ancient yogis have always known about pranayama. Darling, can you not put? Okay, I'll move.
I'm literally on the edge.
Well, yes, my edge. So as well as the calming benefits of pranayama in terms of what it can do, pranayama is the yogic term for breath control. I'm boiling now. So as well as the physiological benefits that pranayama gives in terms of calming the body, calming the nervous system, and reducing the stress response, when you spend time just sitting quietly with your, in a meditative position, focusing on your breath, just being present in the moment, just being fully in the breath, that too brings tremendous sense of calm and peace and clarity and focus, and all of the mental problems that stress causes can be reduced through regular practice of stillness, sitting still and being quiet. So asana and pranayama, the postures and the breathing, they're the things that everyone knows about how yoga can help with stress. And I may have talked about breathing for far longer than I intended to, so I do apologize. Because what I also wanted to talk about was there are lots of other aspects to yoga that not everyone knows about. When I started my yoga teacher training, I thought I was going to learn how to teach people to get into postures. I thought I'd learn a bit of anatomy and physiology, and I thought I'd learn how to maybe do some breathing exercises. And I had absolutely no idea that I was going to learn a heck of a lot more than that. Yoga isn't just an exercise class. Yoga isn't just a set of exercises. It isn't just, sitting on your mat with your eyes closed, chanting Om. It isn't just lying down at the end of the class in relaxation. Those are important aspects of yoga, but yoga is actually a whole way of life. It's a philosophy, it's science, it's words have gone. It's a way of living. It's a whole way of living, and it's a framework for good living. And the Patanjali, who was the first person to write down the framework of yoga, he wrote the book called the Yoga Sutras, and in that he talks about the 8 limbs of yoga. And so there are 8 limbs, there are 8 vital components of yoga, and the asana, which is the postures, that's number 3. That's the 3rd one. So there are 2 more layers that we need to get to before we get to the postures, and they are the yamas and the niyamas. These are the morals and ethics of yoga. They are how you interact with the world, what kind of person you are, how you connect to other people, how you connect to yourself, how you behave. They are the moral code, and they are the how to elevate yourself to be a better person. The yamas and the niyamas are really important when you're looking at yoga as a whole sort of system for helping to reduce stress in life. The yamas are kind of like the don'ts. So we've got ahimsa, which is non-harming. Asteya is truthfulness, not lying. I've written down something. Oh no, see, I've written down asteya twice. And now I've forgotten what it actually is. Isn't that annoying how I've got a mental blank? But the next one is non-stealing. It'll come back to me. Then there's Brahmacarya, which is control of desires. And aparigraha is not grasping, not hoarding, not just like I want. Now, those are the 5 yamas. They're the don'ts. And I think... I don't think that I've got this from anywhere else. I may have, though. I've read and listened to a lot of stuff. So this might not be my idea. But I think that these 5 sort of guidelines here. If we lived in a world that followed these, we wouldn't have any of the global environmental problems that we have, the inequalities that we have, the everything we have. I mean, non-harming. If the world was governed on the principle of non-harming, what a different world we'd live in. If truthfulness was a value that was held by all, if not stealing, if we didn't take things that don't belong to us, and throughout history, nations have done that, and nations are still doing that now, and we do it individually, we do it as a nation. Control of desires. I mean, you've only got to look at the landfills to know that, we don't live according to that. Control of desires and non-grasping, grabbing and taking and wanting and wanting and wanting. So all of those are impacting and creating a world that is incredibly stressful to live in. And also, if we lived on that, just on an individual level, if we try to not harm other people and ourselves, if we try to always be truthful and, expect the truth from others and live our truth, don't live a lie, live your truth. Don't steal. Don't allow people to steal from you, and not just your things. Don't allow people to take your energy, your time, your attention. Don't allow Facebook to take your attention. Controlling your desires. How many times have you, gone to the shop and bought something and then come home and thinking, I have no idea why I bought this, but I desperately wanted it when I was in the shop. And then that causes stress. And non-grasping, non-hoarding, we hang on to things that we don't need. We hang on long after things, people, thoughts, ideas, dreams. We hang on to these things and they cause us stress as well. So, if you could apply those to your life a little bit more, even on a very small level, like non-harming, try and smile at people. Try and be kinder to people. Try not to judge people. Try not to judge yourself. Try and be kinder to yourself. Just apply these a little bit to your life and life will become less stressful. And when I started my yoga teacher training, we were told 3 rules. Don't judge, don't compare, and don't beat yourself up. And they have been like a bedrock for me ever since. I think, as somebody in recovery from addiction, I think they're crucial for people in recovery, and they're crucial for anyone, because if you're spending your life judging others, you're probably judging yourself as well. Brené Brown talks about the fact that the things that we judge people about are actually revealing of our own insecurities. So if I think I'm a terrible mother to this little boy, I'm going to look out and find other people that I think are worse than me so that I can feel better about my own parenting. Comparison is a terrible thing that we do to ourselves. If you think you're better than someone or worse than someone, it's not going to help you be the best person you can be. And beating yourself up is just, we do it all the time, and that creates so much stress, so much tension, so much unhappiness that it's just completely self-defeating. But we all do it, and once you start to notice how much you do it, it becomes easy to reduce that. So that would be if you can take away one little snippet, take away those 3 rules: don't judge, don't compare, and don't beat yourself up. They are so powerful as a little mantra to carry around with you in life. The last thing I want to talk about is just 5 more minutes. I'm going to try. Well, you want to type something in that?
Yeah, but then no, this was...
No, you're not doing that. No.
I just wanted to test something, but I want to actually send it into the chat.
Well, don't, because I'm trying to finish this now. So can we now? Okay, you can type something after. So the last thing I want to talk about is the Niyamas, which are the second limb of yoga. And they are the mechanisms by which you can become a better person. It's like the yamas are about evolving, moving beyond the base instincts, beyond the animal instincts. And the niyamas are about elevating yourself to the best human that you can be. So we've got saucha, which is cleanliness. Santosha, which is gratitude and contentment. Tapas is discipline. Swadhyaya is self-study, and Ishwara Pranidhana is surrender and acceptance that there is something bigger than you, whatever you call that. So, these 5 can make life an awful lot easier. Saucha, I am not a very tidy person. I'm a lot tidier these days than I used to be. I'm working on it. I know that life is a lot easier, that I'm much happier, that my life is a lot less stressful when my house is tidy. It just goes without saying. Interpersonal relationships are a lot easier if you keep yourself clean. So cleanliness in this most basic form makes life easier. And then it also talks about, cleanliness of what are you putting into your mind? Are you filling your mind with stuff that's just going to stress you out? Like, last year, the year before, I was completely obsessed with Sons of Anarchy, which is just one of the most violent TV programs I've ever watched. And it's horrible, but I couldn't stop watching it. It was brilliant. But it was horrible, and it was, there was a lot of stuff that made me very uncomfortable to watch it, and it was very stressful, and there would be times when my heart rate was pounding, and I was feeling a bit sick, and I was getting a lot of stress responses watching it. I don't watch stuff like that anymore if I can avoid it, but I keep thinking I want to watch Sons of Anarchy again, but then I don't, because I actually don't want to put myself through all that bloodshed and violence. So think about what you're putting into your body, what you're putting into your mind. Is it clean? Is it healthy? Is it stressing you out, or is it helping you to be calm? Santosha, now Santosha I could do another whole workshop on, because that is around gratitude and contentment and acceptance of where you are. Gratitude and contentment don't mean that you don't want life to be better. But it means that you appreciate what you have right now and where you are right now. I'm constantly dreaming about a better life, but I wake up grateful for what I have. The two things they're not mutually exclusive. But when you're living in gratitude, it has been proven in various research, proper science, that it improves resilience to stress, that it improves outlook, so you feel more positive. You're better able to problem solve. People who live with gratitude are generally happier, they get sick less, get ill less, have better relationships with others, can communicate better. So many of the problems that I've already talked about that are caused by stress can be lifted up and removed through a gratitude practice. If you want to know any more about gratitude practice, I've got some blog posts that I've written, and I can link you to, if you just want to, drop me a note in the comments, and I will send you a couple of links to some blog posts that I've written. I wrote quite a lot about gratitude. It is a really powerful practice, and I do recommend, if you don't already do it, or if you haven't done it today, just sit down and write down all the things that you can think of that you're grateful for right now, and I promise you'll feel better after you do it. It's great for, when your children are driving you to distraction, you can sit down and write down all the reasons you love them, or, making you crazy, or your boss is upset you, or life is not what you want it to be. Write down all the things that are good, and keep that list and use it when you're feeling rough, when you're feeling down. You can look at that list and think, yeah, but I've got all these things. I'll write a new list. Tapas is discipline. It's self-control. It's self-discipline. It's doing what you say you're going to do. It's sticking to your plans. It's having the strength of will to stick to a routine, to develop a routine and stay with it and do the things that you commit to doing. I know, because that's not one of my strong points. I massively overcommit myself to things and then I get stressed because I can't do half of them. And it's something I'm trying to remember more that I do. Swadhyaya is self-study, self-awareness, and that is, as well as the pranayama, that was a big game changer for me when I did my teacher training, because once you start digging into who you are, digging into yourself, you discover that there's an awful lot of stuff up here that you either don't notice, you've kind of pushed away, you choose not to think about, and it is all important. It all needs to be dealt with. And you may find that if you spend some time doing some good, deep self-study, you may uncover things that you don't know about and heal things that you didn't know you really needed to heal. It can be very powerful. The book I wrote last year was a massive exercise in Swadhyaya. I don't think I wrote it for anyone but me, really. But the first draft I wrote of it, if I published that, I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't be talking to me now, because I offloaded such a lot of stuff that it was unpublishable. But it was good. I needed to get all that out so that I could write something I could publish. And then the final one is Ishvara Pranidhana. That's surrender. Now, you can take that however suits your personal beliefs and values. I like the interpretation of it given by Swami Gitananda, where called it Atman Pranidhana. Atman is the self, the spiritual self, the higher self. And he talks about it as being that connection with the divine, but with the divine in you. And so it's the connection to your own higher self. And he talked about it as the ability to just know that you've got, all you can control is what you can do. You can't control what other people are going to do. You can't control what is going to happen as a result of your actions. You can only control your actions. And I think that a lot of the reason why we get so stressed is because we want to control everything. We want to be absolutely certain of the outcome. We want to know, if I take this step, this is what's going to happen. But there's a whole load of other factors that are going to come into play. But all we can do is take that step. And you can take that step or you cannot take that step. Either way, there's going to be something that's going to happen as a result of you taking the step or not taking the step. It's going to create a consequence. So Swami Gitananda's phrase was, do your best and leave the rest. So you just do the very best that you can in that situation. You play your part and don't worry about anything else, because everything else is out of your control. And you can hear that and feel stressed by it, or you could hear that and think, well, that's okay then, because that means I don't have to worry about it. You do what you can. And parenting is a fantastic example of this, because when we're parents, we have these small human beings who come into our lives, and we have to look after them, and we have to find a way to raise them to be reasonable human beings. You've got no idea what other influences are going to happen in their life. You don't know what they are going to become. All you can do is do the very best you can do for them as you're raising them, and just hope that it works out, and let go of any sort of judgment over what happens. As long as you've done your best by your children, then you can't, you've got no reason to feel any kind of recrimination, as long as you've done your best. So do your best and leave the rest and let it go. That's really all that I wanted to talk about. I was aiming for about 3/4 of an hour, but I tend to prattle on a bit. If are there any questions from anybody before I go?
There's literally only one person.
There's literally only one person, so there is, yes. I'm going to drop into the chat box, into the comments box, a link to the Relaxation Repository sign-up form. Now, the Relaxation Repository is a free library of resources that you can access. There are video workshops in there. There are breathing exercises. There are downloads of relaxations. There's ebooks. There are a variety of things in there that can help you to take in and use some of the things that I've taught you. You might find there's a bit of repetition in what I've talked about tonight. But oh, look, Jackie's saying hello to you. You saw that, did you?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to get access to the Relaxation Repository, it's all free, and there are some follow-up emails that are going to talk you through the resources a little bit more as well. And I've also launched today, which you might be interested in, the Breathe, Live, Grow Academy. And I'm really excited about the Breathe, Live, Grow Academy. Don't mess with the buttons. Really excited about this. This is the online school that I've been wanting to create for a while. And it's going to be looking at yoga as a holistic approach to life. There's going to be live classes. There's going to be a community space where we can all talk. There are going to be relaxations for you. There's going to be group coaching calls where we can talk about themes every week, every month. So it might be that we're looking at gratitude one month. It might be that we're looking at relaxation. We might look at nutrition and, how to take care of what we're putting into our body. The whole range of things that we can be talking about. And it's there's going to be the live classes. There's also going to be pre-recorded material where I'm going to be taking you through a series of exercises, a series of practices to help you learn to breathe better, to help you learn to loosen your body better, to just help you to incorporate yoga into your life in a way that suits you. So we'll be talking around how to create routines that work for you as well. It's okay. Okay. So it's all very well me saying, here's a 1 hour class. That's no good to you if all you've got is 10 minutes. So we'll be looking at how you can create your own routine that works for you while also being able to access these longer live classes and having all the benefits of almost like a one-to-one coach, but as part of a group experience. So this is going to be, the Academy is going to be starting in September. I'm opening it up now for founder members because what I would really love is for people to help me to create this, to have a sort of like a focus group, if you like, that I can talk to find out, would you like this? Would you like that? How would you like me to structure it so that the founder members can actually help to shape how the Academy is going to work, because I've got ideas, but I'd like to know that they're going to work for other people as well. So at the moment, there's a special offer on the price. It's going to be £49 a month once it's launched, or £490 for the year. But until the 20th of August, if you'd like to be a founder member and help me to create this, you can have it for £29 a month or £290 for the year. That will be your price for the whole duration of your membership, regardless of what else I might do with the price after that. It won't be going down. It definitely won't be becoming less than that. And if it ever does go less than that, then you'll have it for the lower price. But your price will stay at the lowest price that you're going in at. So if you want to be involved in this, and I really hope you do, I'm so excited about this and I can't wait to create it. And I would love to be able to work with you to create something that is going to actually be sure to give you value. So I'm going to drop the link to that page on my website in the comments. And if you could take a look, and if you would like to talk to me about it, then I would love to chat. We can arrange a chat, and I would just I'd love to hear from you. So please do take a look. Please let me know what you think. And I hope that you've enjoyed this workshop. And I am going to go. We're 30 seconds away from 1 hour. So I'm going to go and put us both to bed. So have a lovely evening. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Wait, Mum. I want to, wait, can it be an hour long?
No.